Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. It's Christine with gaugegirltraining, an online meal planning and coaching service. In today's video, I'm going to discuss 6 signs of excess carb intake. So let's get started. All right, you guys, so I'm gonna go through 6 signs of specific things to look out for that you are over consuming your carbs. And the first thing that you wanna look out for is hyperglycemia, also known as type 2 diabetes. So type 2 diabetes, it happens as a result of excess glucose in the bloodstream. And this is one of the key signs of a diabetic condition where the body cannot effectively lower its own blood sugar by itself due to irregularities with one's insulin levels. Even if you have not been formally diagnosed with diabetes, some signs that you want to look out for are frequent urination, a persistent feeling of being thirsty, and the problem is eating excess amounts of sugar causes this problem to begin with. And while there are cases where the body is not able to effectively manage glucose metabolism due to the inability to create insulin, that's type 1 diabetes, or the case of insulin resistance, which is type 2 diabetes. So here's the thing, guys. You definitely want to be careful. If you're starting to get to the point where your body cannot lower its own blood sugar, this is a sign that you've been eating too many carbs, and you may want to consider an alternative lower carb approach to help you reverse insulin resistance, and it can be done. So I have other videos explaining insulin resistance. You can do a search on that, but this is the number 1 sign of excess carb intake. The number 2 sign of excess carb intake is bloating. And even if you are eating a healthy and balanced diet, bloating is part of life, and it sometimes seems to happen for non-obvious reasons. Consistent bloating though, however, if you are consistently bloated, I'm not talking about just when your period comes, I'm not talking about just when you've eaten some salty food. If you're consistently bloated, it can be related to excess carb intake, it can be related to a gluten intolerance, it can be related to lactose intolerance, it can be related to IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or the consumption of high FODMAP foods. So if you're eating excess carbs, you are going to bloat. Perfect example is 1 gram of carbohydrates will bind up to 3 grams of water. So the more carbs you eat, the more water it's going to hold proportional to that. So that's definitely, it makes sense just from a basic math perspective that it is going to cause you to bloat. But another thing is a gluten intolerance. And obviously there are a lot of carb sources, typically things like baked goods, whole wheat, bread, oats, and even some types of pasta will contain gluten. And there are some individuals who have a condition called celiac disease. And it is where these people are not able to process and digest gluten. And as a result of that, you guys, you can definitely switch away from foods with gluten, switching your carbs to things like sweet potatoes, things that do not include like cauliflower or rice, things of that nature to help with that. The next thing is lactose intolerance. So bloating after consuming dairy is probably a very common occurrence due to the presence of milk sugar. And if that is you, make sure that you eliminate it. A lot of people cannot break down lactose because you are missing the digestive enzyme lactase. And you can supplement with that digestive enzyme or you can avoid it. I know a lot of you guys like your dairy anyway, but I would encourage you to give your gut a break so that way you can work through that. Now, IBS, you guys, it is a condition that results in intense bloating in the lower abdomen, and it's commonly associated with diarrhea, abnormal gastrointestinal issues. So this means like eliminating large meals, fried foods, carbonated beverages, alcohol, sugar alcohols, and caffeine is a great place to start, even though that may feel like you're eliminating everything. Trust me, there are other foods if you do have IBS. Outside of eliminating those things, I do recommend you go on a FODMAP style plan, and that means eliminating foods that have fermentable, which is the F, oligodimonosaccharides and polyols. So FODMAPs, it's a type and class of food that once it's inside of your gut, it ferments and forms bacteria, which forms gas, which can cause your organs to be distended. So you definitely want to avoid those types of things if you are struggling with bloating. The third sign that you want to look for that is indicating excess carb intake is acne. A common side is the thing that acne comes and is fueled by the bacteria, which if you're eating sugar, bacteria feeds on sugar and it will propagate as a result. And nutrition plays such an important role in your skin health, and excess carb intake in the form of refined sugars will increase your breakouts. And the refined carbohydrates will break down into sugars that's going to feed the bacteria. And while bacteria alone is not going to cause acne, it can stress existing inflammation in the skin. So selecting lower glycemic index carbs will help to minimize nutrition-related breakouts, in addition to dialing your sugar intake to only 10% of your total carbohydrates. The next sign of excess carb intake is sign number 4 is fatigue. And it may sound counterintuitive, but the more carbs you eat, it's going to make you feel tired. It's going to make you feel lethargic. It's going to give you brain fog. And if you are just feeling tired and lazy, and even though you're enjoying your carbs and you're liking your snacks, it's going to knock you out and make you feel tired. And it's because these cause such sharp rises in your blood sugar for it to only come down and crash, leaving you without energy very quickly, which will make you feel extremely tired. And it will also cause an increase in your melatonin and your serotonin levels in the brain, resulting in a feeling of mild drowsiness after eating large portions of starchy carbohydrates. So you want to focus on carbs that break down at a slower rate, going for more complex carbohydrates, things like brown rice, things like sweet potatoes, things like whole grains, oats, that are going to break down at a slower rate, as opposed to the ones that are going to give you a sharp spike in your blood sugar to only give you a rapid decrease. So if you are feeling this tiredness, it is a sign that you're probably eating too many carbohydrates. So the fifth sign that you are consuming excess carbohydrates, unfortunately, is depression, and this is a very big problem that I'm seeing these days. And depression results from a reduction in one's serotonin levels in the brain. And excess sugar intake, it's going to decline your brain's optimal function, and it's going to increase overall inflammation in the body. And while a lot of people seek emotional comfort from foods, carbs are a common go-to when people are feeling down. And the problem is that these excess sugars, artificial sweeteners, and fast foods, they're very high in carbs, and they've also been linked to a wide variety of mental disorders, everything from ADHD to bipolar disorders. So you definitely, if you are dealing with this, I would not take this lightly. I sincerely encourage you guys to truly dial your carbs down. I'm not saying go on low carb, I'm not saying go on keto, but I am saying to really look at the connection between your food intake and your brain health, because it's no joke. And the last sign, which is sign number 6, that you are consuming excess carbs is sugar cravings and even addiction. And there are some studies that show that sugar is up to 8 times as addictive as cocaine. And it has been found that sugar actually stimulates the opioid receptors in the brain. And in order to address the sugar addiction, there are a variety of approaches to free yourself from this. So the key, if you are struggling with sugar addiction and sugar cravings, is to get on top of it with respect to eliminating the refined sugars. You don't have to necessarily lower your carbs immediately, because that's going to be hard for a lot of you guys at first, but eliminate the refined sugars. You can replace it with complex carbs, and instead you want to just get your blood sugar stable as the first priority. And the thing is, If you are taking emotional issues out on your food, I encourage you guys to seek counseling. I encourage you guys to talk to a trusted friend, to not take it out on food, because those deep problems are not gonna go away simply by eating food. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you are like, shoot, Christine, I am eating excess carbohydrates, I don't know what to do, I don't know what program I should do, comment below. I'm going to respond to all the comments, and I'll let you know what would be the appropriate plan for you. Just let me know a little bit about yourself and where you're starting out so I can guide you. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.